St. Patty's Day for everybody here online in the world of YouTube. I am 7 minutes early. I've got my pride of, as they say, the tourist beer, the Guinness, for uh, for Irish Day today. Hang on, I don't know if I'm allowed to drink on YouTube. That's better. Okay, so we're done for that for a while. Don't know if anyone's going to show yet. 7 minutes early. I'm trying to keep this short and sweet. Okay, so I'm going to get right into it. Even though no one's on here, they can always watch. So let's go on with the beginning here. I'm looking at my screen here with St. Patty's Day edition because it's March 17th today. Now, I've been focused on a lot of AI generated stuff. So let's talk about what the AI generated for this presentation. So it's called automated sentiment mining. I've been calling it just collecting news off a bunch of news feeds. So I'm supposed to sit here and discuss about news and sentiment from 30 plus live feeds to identify high probability trading events. I'll talk about that. Hello, whoever you are. Yeah, I'll be probably 10, 15 minutes on this topic. So with the news sentiment, basically I've got 30 feeds across the board, ranging from major media all the way to Reddit, big blog group or forums for futures trading. So that's the wide range of stuff that I'm collecting. What it does is the first phase of it. It's all agentic now, or as far as I know. I could talk about agentic later on, but that's the first step is to collect news. Then what it does, it turns all of the news coming out of the futures and options and turns it into a big, massive text file. Originally, what I was trying to do is build bots off of that. That's over 50, 60 pages worth of content. The AI struggled with that to turn them into bots. So instead of that, I just took a summary and turned that into a PDF, and then I got all the bots generated off the summary of the PDF. Let me know if you can hear me okay. And then from there, from the PDF, which that's the second phase to the third phase, where you have the news turned into a PDF, summarized, and then AI generated trading bots come out of that. And this is all for futures and options, all 100% AI, 100% agentic as well. So from there, it generates these bots. It can be anywhere from 8 to 10, depending upon the market condition at that time. And each one will be a separate, self-contained trading bot, basically a strategy. As for the institutions, the youngins call them trading bots. So that's kind of what it does in those three phases. So the next phase I'm still hoping to get to soon is a production where you run all of these bots together. And as I said, it could be 9 to 11 in parallel. And they can all run to the provider, again, which is Rhythmic. And basically what it does, it will grab all the latest data and then basically have all the trading strategies with the logic, the rules for each bot, for each asset. And then over a period of time, you simulate it for an hour, 2 hours, and then you can see which ones are profitable and which ones are not. And then out of that, you only move the profitable bots into a environment for live trading, and then hopefully those will continue to profit, if that makes sense. So that's generally how it works. Okay, I know there's two of us now. We're not quite at 7 o'clock, but I'm assuming everybody on board is with me. As always, if you got questions on this, let me know. So here's been the experience so far. This is the fun part. I could make this a big rant about AI and agentic, which are two separate things. So agentic is built upon AI. The first thing I learned from all of this is all of my agents. I have three of them for each phase that I've explained. Each one is run pretty well sequentially. So the first agent does the collecting of news, it stops, then the second agent kicks in and turns it into a PDF, and then the third agent is the one that will take all of the logic, all the asset, or all the potential assets that can be turned into independent running trading bots in Python. So those are the three steps of the agents. So that's a simplistic way to build out agents. From there, this is all what they call orchestration, and that's a design pattern. Okay, orchestration, the design pattern, we'll call it. So there's different methodologies for these agents. When you use something like Claude Code or Claude Code Desktop or any of the proprietary ones, what happens is they run in a swarm. So they're all running in parallel, and they can add and increase your your uh, your costs quite a bit. Okay, first question, Sir Knight. Are there certain sessions in futures you have found that work better for you than others? How do you define sessions, Mr. Sir Knight? Welcome as well. I'm not sure how you define a session. They'll give me a better answer so I know exactly what you're referring to. So there's these simplistic agents that are designed with that kind of pattern, I guess you'd call it. But most of the time, it's going to be a lot of agents running in a swarm technique. And that's why I've seen it with Claude Code. You could put a prompt out and it could run and launch 15 different agents all in parallel, like in a swarm method. Again, higher cost. So for me, on the cost front, to go from where I started this on Friday, working 18-hour days, and this will only effectively get coded up in high quality optimally, is with Claude Code Opus 4.6. Everything else will not suffice, unfortunately. I've been spending since Saturday $30 to $40 a day, including today. Okay, so Night came here and said, U.S. trading session. Monday, oh, I see. Monday. Okay, that's what I thought. 9:30 to 4 o'clock. Are there certain sessions to in futures you have found that work better for than others? Right now, the only patterns I could see so far for you, Mr. Night, is that I'm doing this 24 hours. I did it up until 5 a.m. last night. So it's kind of like similar to how the Forex world works. You have the Chicago Open volume. You will have new volume come in when Hong Kong, Tokyo open up, okay, around 1 o'clock in the morning, our time. That's a separate session. And then you have another session when London opens up. So each session can be different. That is in a cycle over 24 hours. But the only big difference I'm finding, if the markets, the indices like the S&P 500 do well, and then I'll see bots built for those, the session of Chicago, because that's when most of the volume will be for the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, and the like. That's the only unique pattern I can find. But all the other typical instruments, be it energy, Forex, crypto, that can be 24/7. Okay, so that's probably the distinctive pattern I'm seeing. What's profitable? Again, it's all news driven. Okay, I can't sit here and say, yes or no on that. Yeah, so hopefully I've answered your question regarding, as you said, the European session versus the Asian versus the American session. So just generally, that's all the best answer I can give you, hopefully. But you want to, if you're going to trade the market indices, you want to obviously trade in line with Chicago. Everything's also news driven, so each day could be different, different stories, and da da da. Let me know if that answers your question, Mister Night Night. Thanks for letting me know, CNN, on the clarification on if I look pretty and all that, and uh, the the stream is okay. Thank you. So I've kind of covered already the topics. There's a couple of major takeaways I can come away with so far since Friday. In terms of AI, it's one thing to get a basic architecture built out. Another point to get everything built based upon an architecture. That's one thing, and that's getting you to first base in the baseball way of looking at it. Once you're in first base, then it's a whole nother game because now you have to run those Python scripts, those bots in parallel, and then they'll just do things that you're not used to. We call them logic errors. So there's the typical exceptions during, let's say if it's C++, you'll get your compiler errors, then you get your exceptions, then you get your syntax errors, then you get your runtime errors. But the hardest ones to find are your logic errors. So these are things that I've been experiencing with, like I said, you can have 9, 10 trading bots competing for one connection into Rhythmic, okay? So they were originally all self-contained, each one. So they'd be all competing for one connection into Rhythmic. And then it put it into an unpredictable state of blocking, multi-currency issues, all kinds of things. If you do not understand these sort of things on the logical front and being able to quickly diagnose that, you're going to have difficulty in the world of coding generally. So I just want to highlight that just because you're a vibe coder and you know how to build a bunch of apps or an app to get you to first base, once you start running it and running it in a production environment or running it in scale, you're going to run into a whole slew of other problems. And if you don't know how to quickly diagnose it or understand the concept, as I said earlier, design patterns, you don't understand debugging techniques, you don't understand the higher level of architecture, AI is not going to help you because AI is only a tool, but you have to kind of like be formally educated in university to understand this, and or have a lot of experience to go through the pain of this. So AI on its own and just learning this on the go is not going to help you, unfortunately. You have to have the trading experience, or sorry, you have to have the programming experience behind that. I wouldn't be as far as I am without any of that experience, and I've been programming, I hate to say 40 plus years. So it's not like when you think, the tip is if you were to do this on your own, I would learn a language like C and become a master of a language of C. If you want to go into parallelism and multi concurrency and the like, learn C++. Once you are at a mastery level, then you're pretty safe to say you can probably code up anything. So that's all I'll say about that. I just think vibe coders are going to really be helpless there. And AI can only take you so far. So it's one thing if you're designing a website, yeah, you don't really need to have a lot of programming skills. But then if you're trying to build out a full-on application, then yeah, you gotta have the skills and the chops, the experience to understand how to work with full-on enterprise level software. And you can only get that again of having probably multiple years of experience and or preferably and being formally educated in a computer science 4 years. So I'm just putting that out there for everybody that may not figure it out. I definitely vibe coded mine, and I'm not a coder. That's good to know, Mr. Knight. Now, I don't know you, but are you actually live trading? Are you actually profiting with what you developed? And if you're developing only focusing on one or maybe two assets, yeah, you could probably get away with it. But as I said, with how I'm doing it, I'm running 9 trading bots in simulation at once. So it takes it to another level. And then as my account grows and blah blah blah, the trading gets more sophisticated. Don't be surprised. I could have 5, 10 different trading bots running in parallel. And if you don't understand that concept, yeah, it's going to be very difficult. But if you're running one trading bot on one asset class, one strategy, yeah, you can vibe code all you want, which is good for the beginners. And one other thing I should mention here, as a tip, if you're especially trying to do algo trading, I don't care what language you're trying to do. I don't care about your experience, unless you full on taken on a complete system from end to end, meaning concept to actually trading with real money. It's all conceptual. It's all theoretical. What I'm saying here is you got to focus on the practical. So if you're going to choose a language, no matter your programming level, I'd start with Python, because Python will help you accomplish to get to that end goal of running with live money. And then once you get to that point with Python, then start focusing on other trading languages like C, C sharp, Java, whatever. I would not start with a complicated language because you need to strip away as many complexities as possible and just focus on, if it's just even one asset, as long as you're live trading with it and you don't stop until you get to that point where you're live trading. Then you start worrying about other languages, because I think I've dealt with a number of people over the last 15 years, and a lot of them, large number of people, are not finishing the job because they just get bogged down on the paralysis by analysis, or they get bogged down on the complexities of it. Each step of the way you go is a whole new slew of problems. In my case, it's blocking or multi-threading that becomes a challenge, and you have to use the AI as a tool to get you above and beyond that. Okay, so enough talking. You guys got any other questions or anything new, fresh? I can give you more tips if you want until some questions come up. So there's that. Especially for Python, for algo trading, I would definitely start with Python. Like if you're starting with a platform, we're not speaking the same language. What I'm talking about is you're working with an API from a broker or an exchange and developing a trading system off that. If you are using a platform, be it Ninja, be it TradeStation, I'd say 90% of your job is already done, because the platform does all the heavy lifting for you. All you're doing is you're using probably an SDK, a software development kit, and developing the trading rules for that platform that comply with the programming language for that platform. So it's a completely different ball of wax we're talking here. So again, what I'm talking about is working with an API from a broker or an exchange, right? But if you're working with a platform, completely different conversation. How did you determine your personal risk appetite is appropriate for AI-driven strategy? That's a very good question. I appreciate that. There is no risk right now because I'm starting with a small, simple set of strategies. I shouldn't. Well, yeah, that's like if you're going to do quantitative and all that, you're not going to accomplish anything because you won't get orders triggered, blah blah blah. So if you're trying to complicate your trading strategy, you most likely won't get an order. On the account size, you want to start with an amount that you're willing to lose. So in my case, with a futures account, I'm only at 1,500 US. So even if I lose $1,500 for all this craziness, or there's a bug, or it gets out of control, that's okay. I'm at 1,500. But once you start to bring in strategies that are consistently profitable and are profitable in a sustainable long-term way, that's when you can start adding in more complexities, you can start scaling up your trading account. So, for instance, for me, I wanted to go into not just futures, but options. I've done away with that because options really complicates what I'm trying to do here. So I got rid of options and just starting out with very simple strategies. And as I started from the world of quant in the futures only, I started realizing nothing was getting triggered. So as a result, what I started to do was kind of let the AI either, with the trading that I'm doing right now, it's either setting targets on what it's predicting on a price move or it's using very simple technical analysis. I'm okay with that and just grow it and see the profit. And as I said, if it starts to sustain profit long term, then I'll start adding in the complexities, the options. I'll start adding in more types of strategies. I'll move away from simple technical analysis or even fundamental or even news and just go into quantitative and quantitative only. That's the sort of methodology I would probably recommend to get you to that point. Good questions, Night Night. Appreciate that, Mr. Night Night. If you guys, anybody else got any questions, let me know. The AI is becoming a big thing. So let me talk about that before the next question comes up. I made predictions. I'm at almost something like 8,000 impressions on a LinkedIn post that I put up, and it's probably 15,000 combined with everything. I have said that quant coding, quant research is going to go away because I'm more than convinced with what I'm using with not just AI, but agents now that can run as an individual, call it employee. The AI reports that I have been putting out there, the PDFs, basically the general consensus is that you could spend the equivalent of $2 million over a year in overhead with staffing from a trading desk to a research team to a bunch of coders. Thank you for the likes. You could spend up to $2 million, but if you were just to do it purely on AI, you'd only spend maybe 20K in AI modeling costs. So you're going from 2 million down to 20,000. That's what the AI told me on the level, just alone on cost. I had a comment in the last day from the CEO of a company called Algo Expert, Algo X PERT. I think they're out of Vietnam. What he said was interesting. They have taken, this is now practical. This is a team doing this, a real world hedge fund. I don't know what they are exactly, but a trading operation where they've taken about a year of research, resources, cost, and they've gone from that down to 48 hours. Okay. So what they said that all their costs have obviously gone up, their level of being able to take a suite of strategies and then what he wants them all to fail quickly. So he can, over a 48-hour time frame, get up to 300 trading strategies. Okay. I think it's 200 or 300. And he wants to see the majority of them fail. Okay. I call it on the frontier because it's kind of the same concept. When all of the ones that fail, you only keep the ones that stay profitable. And then you go through another 48 cycle of the same thing. Okay, like we're doing two different things here. But for me, with how it's running right now and how it's been developed, I could have the thing launched, collecting news, turning that into a PDF, and generating 9 to 10 bots in a span of no more than 15 minutes. Okay, and part of the challenge to get to that point was when it's generating these independent trading bots that they run flawlessly, meaning that they don't run with errors on the first go. They have to, when they get created, they have to be created with no exceptions, no errors, nothing. That means it has to be flawless. So originally I was doing it with Codex, the latest version of Codex from OpenAI, worked fine. But there were some hairy problems because of all these complexities I said earlier. And then I had to move up that from Codex to Sonnet 4.5, 4.6. I got that working where these independent trading bots were then created flawlessly, no errors when they first launched. Then I went back to the codis and everything worked fine. So that's another step that you have to get to create these bots flawlessly when they're created on this 15-minute cycle, we'll call it, of creating trading bots from a bunch of news. If you guys got questions, let me know. I'm not afraid to answer whatever. So there's what I'm trying to say. If people watch this whole video, this whole stream, I'm just trying to educate on what you got to look out for. Do you find there's a difference in portfolio manager income strategies versus buy and hold? Buy and hold is investing, really. We're talking about active trading when it comes to portfolio management on, call them income strategies. So they're two different worlds. Buy and hold is investing, really. Where trading is just you're trading for, I don't know, holding a position for an hour all the way up to 2 weeks. That's trading. So it's two different things. So I'm focused 100% on trading. But I do have a portfolio I don't manage, somebody else manages for me. And I'm more active trading, and that's what I focus on with all this stuff that I'm developing out right now and what I've been most recently been doing, if that answers that. But that's a good question too. Thanks for asking. If you guys, anybody else or whoever out there wants to answer or ask some questions, be my guest. I'm trying to basically talk about the experiences that I've had since Friday to generate this kind of agentic trading system. It's not as easy as I thought. I thought it'd be a lot faster, and that's because, as I said earlier, because of these logical errors that I'm not anticipating. And you, as I said, you have to be somewhat have the experience of IT world or coding to be able to pick up what could be the problem, because those logic errors are not going to come and yell at you. You have to figure out what's kind of going on. One of the best ways to diagnose it is to always log everything, just everything that's doing, log it. And then one trick I found out that works really good is if you have a set of logs and there's a mysterious problem, you know what the problem is, but you don't know why. What you can do is you can take all those logs, upload them to an AI, and just ask the AI to assess what the potential problem can be. And I just discovered those last few hours. It'll tell you exactly what's happening in the logs. And then when you want a solution, you just basically take that output of what the problem is and feed it again back into an AI and ask what are my options? How can I fix this? And you can instantly figure out what your problem is and the solution for it. Another tip, just putting that out there. The best thing that can identify coding errors is Claude Code easily, and it saves you so much time. And they say you get what you pay for, as they say. By the way, you'll definitely like Opus 4.5 Claude Code. The Opus 4.6 on the web has stronger reasoning, Claude Code reasoning. It's interesting. I've been using Claude Code 4.6 for quite a while now, so I'm very familiar with all the different Sonnet, Haiku, 4.5, so I know it inside out. I would rather spend the best model out there for this, and that is the latest Opus level from Claude. Somebody just sent me, and they're on here, I know. Thanks to them, I just read, I don't know if I haven't confirmed it, but I'm sure it's happening. OpenAI is only focused on business-related AI and coding, because that's where their money is at. Like the general chit-chat stuff, the Chinese have basically killed off OpenAI there. So they can't keep up. That's going to be the new focus for OpenAI, apparently. The Codex is pretty good. For the cost, it's not bad. But it depends upon what you're trying to do with code. If you're trying to build something sophisticated, I think and can only recommend you go to Claude Code or Claude. Because depending upon how big what you're generating, and if it's a static system or in my case, like a dynamic, yeah, Claude Claude Opus 4.6 is kind of what you need. But Codex, if it's simpler, like a website or something, Codex is fine. But Claude is very, very, very pricey. As I said, I spent about, well, I don't know, 120, 150 since Friday just on that AI alone to build out this agentic system. Is it worth it? Yeah, because when you look at how much it costs you to hand code this, it'd be like 100 times more expensive and done. You don't know if it's going to be done right at that cost as well, depending upon who does it. So if you guys got any other questions, let me know. Yeah. So yeah, there's so much I could provide as tips, but generally I've kind of already kind of gone over them. But if you're new to it, you probably want to work with a platform like a TradingView and PineScript. I'm sure AI can handle PineScript pretty good. It's popular enough. I think same with MQL 4 and 5 for MetaTrader. So you might be okay there. But as I said, for what I'm doing is completely different from using platforms. I've done the platform thing and it's very limiting. And now, especially when you're working with AI and plugging in all these different packages and functionality and data science, stuff, really the best one to do it on is with Python. So there. You guys got any other questions at all? Please let me know. I think I'm trying to keep this live session down under an hour. Let's see here. And Sir Night Night's the one keeping this alive. Thank you very much for that. That makes sense. ChatGPT works great for coding, and that's it. It's amazing for secondary reviews of Claude Code. Yeah, I mean, Claude Code's very expensive. But as I said, you get what you pay for, and you got to be willing. See, if you're trying to mimic a coder, you have to remember back in the day they were very expensive. You could spend 20 grand on a coder for 1 month. And here, if somebody's going to complain for almost 4 or 5 days, $150, it's still a steal, and you're getting high quality, optimized, efficient code. I agree. I tried Sierra Chart and it didn't work for me. I looked at Sierra Chart, and I'm going to tell you, when you work with a platform or a SDK, you're very limited, unfortunately. And when you go to the vendor of the platform, say, hey, can you add this functionality? You could wait days and weeks and years, and it may never see the light of day. So you're at a point where you go, well, do I abandon the platform? Because again, when you do it with an API, you have absolute 100% control, but you have to take full responsibility of the code when you do the trading. But that's all changed courtesy of AI. So that's the big benefit of it. Mr. Knight, I don't know your programming experience. I think you said you're kind of new at it. And the other thing is, Zero Chart's not easy, man. That's C++. So, you could do NinjaTrader and do C#, which is a little easier, or what's the other popular one? Quant Tower. Those are usually the platforms that a lot of the prop shops use. But the thing is, with prop shops, with the futures, a lot of them end up on Rhythmic. So that's the API I'm using. And you're going to get a lot more functionality using the Rhythmic API itself than relying on a platform and then just getting data through the platform for your $40 or whatever. Let's see. I'm always having people here. If you guys got questions. Oh, Arun Sharma, how are you? Sierra's pretty solid, just limited by brokers. Yes, it is. Like I know, I was looking at it for interactive brokers. The problem was there's a warning somewhere saying it doesn't work. I've worked with third-party tools and services with interactive brokers. I'm to the conclusion interactive brokers does it on purpose, where they kind of like say, we'll support you, but we're not going to give you the full experience, as opposed to if you use our own tools and API. So that's one thing. and then in my case, using Rhythmic API directly. It like interactive brokers and Rhythmic API are night and day, quite literally on many levels. So now that I got working on Rhythmic, it's night and day. You can do and I can also say with the Rhythmic Python API, it's a I can't remember. No, it's called the Rhythmic Protocol API. So that will give you access to JavaScript and Python. They told me, here's the good news. Yes, it will work on Linux. If you guys got questions or comments, let me know. Now, when it comes to Linux support, I tried that. It my configuration right, everything was working in Ubuntu Linux, connected, and it froze. I couldn't proceed. So I go back to the Windows, same everything, works. I don't know why. So just so you know, So Arun asks, have you touched anything like Vector BT Pro for backtesting? I was thinking of using that and hooking up strategies with your reports to be added as some bot logic. I don't think you need that third-party solution, Aaron. To be honest, as I said, you can use the leverage of AI. If you got that one little LinkedIn product I know you got, that's set up there with the Interactive Brokers basic demo or paid. It's a good way to practice. But coming back to what you're asking about backtesting, that's kind of what I'm doing now. Okay, I'm building out an 8 set of agents that run multiple bots that trade across whatever instrument, be it Bitcoin, be it oil, gold, whatever, and have a strategy associated with it. So we'll run in a simulation for 15 minutes, half an hour, and I can instantly tell using real market data, not test data, real market stream data, if that strategy is going to work or not. I can sense it within half an hour. And because of that, I don't have to I don't have to waste my time on classic back testing. So if you know over that half hour what's profitable, you can then say, okay, I'll deploy this into production and live trading. So with the AI and the way it's working, you can instantly find out if whatever trading strategy you come up with, bot, whatever you want to call it, if it's profitable or not. The whole point here is you need to cut down as much time as you can on the back testing. So in my case, as I said, if I launch this thing, collect the news, create the bots within 15 minutes, give it another half hour, I know if whatever set of bots are going to be profitable from there. If you can get it down to that amount of time, you will be able to eliminate a lot of the unnecessary back testing. And no problem, Aaron. The problem is that I'm getting so much resistance on it. It's crazy. And the reason that people resist is because they don't want to change, because they've been married to this piece of strategy, piece of code for years, and they don't want to adjust. My answer to that is when you start getting your competition trading the same thing and being able to trade it faster with more logic in it, you're out of business, because my orders will snag your orders, meaning your orders will never see light of day. And I might not be the only one doing that. You could have 100 of people like myself that are using agentic AI and building out trading bots almost not instantly, but within an hour. And that's why you don't want to do backtesting anymore. A lot of people may not like to hear it, but that's the reality. And a lot of things is that people have verified, a lot of hedge funds are now not using AI to trade now. 30% of the trades right now are using agentic AI, not just AI, but agentic. There's a big difference there. I do think we're at a point now, back in the day when I was using MATLAB, as I said, anybody got questions, let me know. With MATLAB, you could put out a strategy in using these genetic algorithms, and this is like early stages of machine learning, where you have a genetic algorithm and you have a stream of market data come in, and the strategy will be able to adjust its parameters on the stream, and then be able to trade off of that stream dynamically and self-adjust. That's been the dream for every automated trader. I do think as things build out, we are now at a point where we can create algorithms, strategies, bots, whatever you want to call it, to be able to self-adjust and be able to create new strategies on the fly, working with the market data as it's being streamed in. We're at that point. It's very expensive, but it can be done. There, I said it. If you guys got any other questions or not, I'm not saying don't waste your time on back testing. You should go in as fast as you can to understand with AI and now agents, you're able to near eliminate back testing because you need to respond ASAP to the market. Especially a lot of it is AI driven. I think Mr. Night Night came back and asked about patterns that I'm seeing with using AI, call it AI trading, because it's what it is in, let's say, the futures market generally. The AI 100% of the time will always pick instruments that have the highest volume, meaning they're the most liquid. So unless there's, let's say, corn or something that's nearly illiquid, like lumber or cattle, unless there's some catastrophe and all of the AI starts to just suddenly trade cattle, then there's volume in that. But that's for a very short term trading opportunity. That's where the AI may pick that. But generally, day to day that I've been working now with this, it's always the popular stuff: the energy, oil, natural gas, gold, silver, market indices, Bitcoin, and Ethereum. That's the only things that I'm seeing that gets traded, and it's because of it's high volume. So as I keep saying, if you go to bar chart and just type in your search in Google or whatever search engine you use, just put in bar chart most active, and it'll come up with the most active traded instruments out there. During the day, it's going to be Treasury, usually number one in a bad market, then any of the instruments, and then you may get gold, you may get silver, and then you may get oil. And maybe Bitcoin and maybe a currency in there as well. But if you keep doing that every day for, let's say, a week, and then you check that same search in the list at, good example, on the Asian Open, you can see what's trading at the Asian Open. And then when London or Europe starts to open up, you could do the same check and see what's trading there based upon volume. So that's how you kind of sync everything up on what's being traded by volume at certain times of the day over any trading day. But there's always news that can drive certain instruments beyond the standard volume of any of the instruments that I'm talking about. Good examples would be any of the altcoins like Solana or XRP. But again, that's a short blip. That trading opportunity might last, I don't know, a couple hours at most. So again, I'm just talking about futures and options and on the CME. Anybody got questions, comments? Let me know. Some of the other patterns I could talk about in the meantime for the next question. Generally, Bitcoin and Ethereum are having bad days. I mean, I think Bitcoin's coming back a little bit. But there's always some interesting correlation that the AI picks up with Bitcoin or Ethereum, and that's usually the most instrument that's chosen as a priority. It's usually Bitcoin or Ethereum. And then because of the news with what's going on in the Middle East, it's usually oil. Then it could be natural gas. And then sometimes you'll see gold, silver in there as well, depending upon the market. Usually you can get a big surprise from the Treasury 10-year note. And then the other one during the 9 to 5 Chicago time, trading hours, it's going to be a market in this index as well. And then usually you'll see maybe a forex or a currency like euro or Japan as well. But that's what I'm seeing. But let alone trading and what's going to be profitable is different. If that makes sense. As I said, if you guys got questions or comments, let me know. So as an example, I've been doing this since Tuesday, Wednesday last week. Each day I'm running this, I see one day natural gas looks great. I don't know if you've been watching what I put out in the last week. As an example, natural gas looks profitable. Hi, JDI. How are you? Got questions? Let me know. If you got comments, let me know. And if you missed everything, you can always go back to the videos, So with what I've been seeing, and this is now what I'm going to say the most profitable, one day it could be oil. And then the next day it could be natural gas. But the thing you got to watch with natural gas is highly volatile. Another day it could be gold. And next day it could be neither oil or gold. It could be treasury. Just depends upon what's happening in the news and what's happening with where the big institutions are putting their money into for the day. Because remember, this is very short term. Just saying. That's what I've been seeing. Treasury, oil, or gold as the most profitable. Aaron comes back, says, in other videos you mentioned option chain data. Are your bots looking for possible trades or seeking to get an edge on the underlying? Yeah, with options and futures, right now I'm not using any futures because, as I said earlier, that only complicates what I'm doing. So I'm stripping it all down to futures only. But I will say with options chain data, there's a lot of data in there that's very forward looking. And that's great. And it's complicated stuff because then you're getting into the Greeks analysis and all that. So that's one, not concern, but one complexity. The other thing I have to figure out is, I think going to be the most challenging of them all will be, believe me when I say this, which option chain do I pick? That's the problem. So I have to figure out how to do that first before I start working on just general option chain. So again, that's where the AI comes in. And yeah, that's where the Rhythmic API helps you out. So there's that. I'm not using option chains right now, but I will plan to. Just generally from a trading perspective, if you want to generate wealth and you get these calls consistently profitable, it magnifies your wealth opportunity by a lot, immensely. So if you took my futures and options course, you'd understand about the synthetic options and the synthetic strategies you can build, but you got to have a fairly big account to do that. If in my case at $1,500, you're not going to be able to do any of that. If you've got like a $25,000, $50,000 account, you can definitely do that with other strategies running in parallel. But generally, you have to have a sum of money to be able to run those kind of strategies as well. So you got to consider that. So JDI asked, do you plan to start monitoring the quality of your fills once you go live? Yeah, that'll be part of the monitoring I can do. As I said earlier, there are ways to analyze where I'm at now with the logs for debugging purposes. So what I could do, there's one or two ways I could go about it. I can provide basically like a profit and loss activity through a log, run it for a day, and then feed it to an AI to ask it to assess it, and it'll tell me where and how whatever opportunities there are there, any consistencies in that. Right now, the way I look at the markets, I think that's pretty hard to predict because there's so much unpredictability in the markets right now, and a lot of volatile events. A lot of it's driven by what comes out of the mouth of President Taco. because one minute he'll say, "Oh, the Strait of Hormuz is closed." Oh, oil goes up. Next day he says, "No, we're going to fix it and it's closed." Well, oil price collapses, then all of a sudden all the market indices go up, and nobody has control over that. Nobody can be in the brain except the little gerbil spinning on his wheel of Taco's head, and knowing to be able to predict that. Other than that, these call them external exogenous events are very hard to predict, but they have huge impact on the markets. But what I will say with what I'm doing is I'm able to watch capital flow as is. So if I have, let's say, 9, 10 bots running in parallel to test the market on what's trading based upon, get ready for what I'm about to say, hot capital flow, which I've never said before. That's what you got to watch for, is hot capital flow, meaning where's that hot capital flow going to? Because the hot capital flow is what drives your profit, because that drives up your volume. So if you know the hot capital flow, as I said last week, 1 minute it could be, for the day, it could be gold. The next day it could be natural gas, but remind you there's high risk and volatility that comes with it. Next day it could be oil. Next day it could be treasury. Oh, and then the next day, well, Trump says something positive, and then everything that I just mentioned goes down, but market indices go up. Hard to track that, but that's what hot capital flow does. So that's why you want to stay on top of the market news. Now, what I will say, I've been running this particular set of agents consistently 24 hours. It picks up everything quickly, and it generates the appropriate bot for that time. So this process that I'm building out works really good. So I'm happy about that. Just trying to get from the trading bots to work together and play nice with each other, and then take it to the next phase to actually take what's profitable and put it into a live trading environment. So I don't know if that answers your question, JDI, but that's kind of what I'm talking about. What you're asking about is that hot capital flow. As I said, the other options I have, if this is too much for you, the good thing, if you're going to use a software journaling service that for your trades, like TraderSync or I can't remember the other one names, but if you use any of those type of services, they usually have an extra tier you pay for over the long run, where you can apply AI to study your trading patterns. You can do that with AI already, so you don't need to go for that tier. But yeah, you can watch your P&L, your profit, what's profiting and not. But in this day and age, with the unpredictability, as I said regarding Mr. Taco in the States, you don't know what's going to trade and what's going to trade in a profitable way. As another example that comes up a lot is if everything's collapsing, gold included, and treasury, because they can kind of move together. If they're all tanking, the only one that moves up is VIX. And I showed on one video, like, everything's down, but VIX is up 8%. So if you're able to capture those kind of moves as well, you just don't want to be tied to one strategy, one instrument over a certain period of time. You'll lose for sure. And it's just, everything's unpredictable. You just don't know what's going to move the next day. So as I said, the only way to know is to do what I'm doing and trade off of short-term news, and then be able to almost, I won't say instantly, but be able to react in such a quick amount of time to be able to have a bot ready to go that's hopefully profitable, and you can test it. And once it is profitable in an automated way using an agent, then move it into that live trading environment. And that's my next big step, if that makes sense. Got any other questions, JDI, Aaron, or I think Mr. Night Night might have dropped off. I haven't seen him in a while. Or anybody else got questions or comments? Let me know. But I'll say the last, since Wednesday, I've learned a lot about algo trading generally and understanding the flow generally in the futures market. The problem is what's going to be moving in the next 10 minutes. 1 minute it could be Bitcoin, next minute it could be natural gas. Everything else collapses, and that can change so fast on the fly. So just so you know, if I'm able to run this process that I've got, collects the news, has 10, let's say 10 trading bots to be deployed in test in 15 minutes, that's pretty good. And then I can rerun it again an hour, 2 hours later and do the same process and just recycle it. I could do that 24 hours if I want, but cut down as much as you can in algo trading, especially on the back testing side. You need to get to that point because the unpredictability, it's so high. And the other problem is if you're a traditional discretionary trader, you may think things will move in a certain way. Usually it doesn't because, again, of this unpredictable nature of this war and Mr. Taco and the like. And it's just the key is what I'm saying, it's unpredictable. That's the problem. You just don't know what's going to move next day or in the next hour. So I'm glad I've developed it this way because I can properly respond to the market when need be, if that makes sense. I'll fully explain it. It's gone through, since Monday, it's gone through already in 24 hours, such radical changes. It's gone through, after I posted what I put out yesterday, it's rewritten itself last night. And again, today, it just rewritten itself again. So it's gone through 3 major iterations since yesterday afternoon. This is how impactful all this is. I'd like to do more videos on this, but I'd rather just get to a point where it's working. If you guys got questions or comments, let me know. As you know, I like doing these. Currently, I got some other interesting issues to deal with this thing, but we'll get there. Do you ever plan to algo trade single stocks? JDI, that's a very good question. In the AI reports, I think I posted a few. I always tell it, don't mention anything to do with equity. And what does it do? It'll post about equity. So there are it'll recommend certain things, what some of even the big traders do, the hedge funds, because it has news on it. They're trading ETFs. So I'm like, maybe I should look into ETFs, but obviously I'll have to trade that through an interactive broker account. So I may start adding in ETFs down the line and single stock, because some of the other big single stocks I could mention about medical, and that might be trending for the next day. It could be obviously NVIDIA, AI, or some other unknown stock as well. Aaron asks, Kraken, I've got X stocks. Yes, I'm aware of that. Think those meant to be 24/7 and some ETFs. Yeah, that's true. Nothing wrong with Kraken, but I do know that NASDAQ, I think they're going to go 24/7 because everything's going to be token based. So that's coming. So you could still be able to get the same advantage with being on interactive brokers and just trading whatever NASDAQ offers as a stock that's built on a token, built on a blockchain. And for sure, New York Stock Exchange, you'll have the same thing. So, and that will be all through interactive brokers. I've got nothing against Kraken. I love Kraken. The other thing to deal with Kraken there is so as I said, Aaron, interactive brokers will be, the difference between interactive brokers and something like Kraken or Coinbase, on the equity front with these tokens that they're trying to do, interactive brokers is going to have a higher volume of traders trading those. So I'd rather be there where they're trading a higher volume. That's all I can say there. Cool. So IBKR will be the same for sure. That's interactive brokers for most people that may not know. So I can now easily tell the AI to build out connections in their interactive brokers. Because as I said, I don't know if you guys have seen my reports, but basically I'm now not trying to be some agent expert here, but basically, as I said earlier at the start of the stream, everything's built off of an orchestrator. It's like this puppet master, and each agent's like a puppet. So if you are the puppet master controlling the movements and what each agent does, that's kind of orchestrating, and that's what the thing's called. And I do have an orchestrator, and then each agent will be its own script that I could run in parallel, but as I've already addressed that earlier in this stream. You guys got any other questions at all? Because there's lots to talk about here with the agents. I've not mentioned anything to do with, actually, I should mention this. So if you've been following me with VS Code, I've talked a lot about the Kilo AI extension. It's a fantastic extension, but I started researching things on the MCP servers, and that was becoming a priority for me. So the best one extension that has a higher range of already pre-built connections with MCP was Cline, Cline, which is like huge. It's one of the top three coding agents out there. So I moved to that, been working that for since Friday, some success with it. But with the MCP servers, which I've not mentioned, it's something I may be interested in. I'll just leave it at that as well. It gets nonstop. So, JDI, do you think you'll ever manage your personal portfolio using instead of a portfolio manager? No. Why? Because that's kind of like we'll call it my retirement, my life savings. So I don't want to be the one responsible for blowing it up. I like to blame somebody if it blows up. And I'm not too worried about that because these guys are CFAs. So they're professional, and I'm sure you've heard about the BlackRock private credit thing, the like blowing up. I got assurances from these portfolio managers that I'm not in any of those toxic assets. Where else, I don't know. But no, I don't want to manage this big account on my own. I'd rather build up a smaller account. Like I have a certain portion allocated I could deploy into what I'm doing, but I'm only going to do it under the right conditions when I know it's sustainably profitable over the long run. So I start small, as I said earlier. Right now I'm starting at 1,500. Up to a point, my little Interactive Brokers account was up 21% before this war took on. It suddenly dropped down to 10% return, so I sold off all my stuff in in that account and just sitting in U.S. dollar. I think U.S. dollar may perform, hopefully, because which was the bad year where everything really tanked. The only thing that went up for the year was U.S. dollars. So I'm hoping I might just sit in U.S. dollar for now. That account grew like 25% over the last 6 months. So yeah, 2022. Thank you, JDI. That was the bad year, and I didn't do anything. I just sat in U.S. dollar. I think I got something like a 14% return. Just hold everything 100% U.S. dollar. I'm hoping that will be the same for this year, because the U.S. dollar's kind of come back a little bit, but with the pressure, with what's going on with the U.S., I could just sit in something like Canadian dollar because it's an oil currency. So I'm sure oil will go up, so will the Canadian dollar, which I kind of need because it's getting expensive here. And if I want to travel overseas, I need to recoup if it's an oil currency and everything goes up. So if you guys, more JDI, it seems that every couple of years something blows up. It seems it is private credit this year. Yeah, they predicted private credit, where it's dangerous for people, especially if you're in retirement or you have an employer that has a pension for you. A lot of these people don't know that their retirement funds are in these things. So now they can't get access to their money because of this gatekeeping thing that they can only get access to 5% at a time. Meanwhile, the majority of the rest of their balance in these accounts, private credit accounts, are dropping like a stone. They do that on purpose, and people never read the terms of services when they see that. It's just another way of locking in and watching your money go poof. So yeah, you have to be cognizant of stuff like that. But a lot of people that have a working job don't really know that. Who's got other questions as well? We got all the big crowd here. Um, Aaron, JDI, if Mr. Night Knight's still out there, I think Mr. Night Knight's dropped off. As I said, I wouldn't mind keeping this a short stream because I want to get back to the debugging on this. So that's okay. A lot of pension funds soaked up private credit. Yeah, a lot have, including our Canada Pension Plan Investment Board, piled a ton of money into those. To be honest, I think they did it on purpose, knowing that it's just their way of keeping people hobbled financially and then being very dependent upon the government. They don't want people to be independently wealthy or have independent income. They're trying to find ways to have people dependent upon the government as much as possible. It's how they control folks, with the bread and circuses on the last stages of the Roman Empire. Equivalent of that as well. I can go on about it, but those are many different rabbit holes that can get you in trouble on YouTube. Who else has got questions? I'm going to tell you my view. I was thinking to go to Singapore next month. I don't know if I mentioned this on any of the streams, but maybe 2 weeks ago, I saw through the futures news, which you'll never see in the mainstream, they did say and predict that jet fuel would go up. Apparently, jet fuel's gone up 50% now. Yesterday, I just found out that in Singapore, they only have one refinery. So they're shutting it down. So they may not have gas in Singapore. There was a report again yesterday in Australia. They may be out of food. They may have food, but they can't get it in the stores because they're running out of gas. They shut down. I think they had 8 refiners in Australia. They shut down 7 of them. They're down to 1 refinery. So they're running out of gas. When they run out of gas, you can't get your food to the stores. That was in their mainstream news yesterday. So if this thing continues, yeah, you'll start to see some pretty stark news where places will start running out of gas. Meaning food can't get to you. Just putting it out there. JDI, I wonder what happens to the large institutions if more trade using AI. Nothing will happen to the institutions. It's the reverse. As more and more institutions are using AI, for them, they're probably going to make more money because their trading is going to get more intelligent and less failures in their trades. So I think they'll be fine. And as they get more consistent, more predictable, finding predictable ways to trade with AI, they'll probably start to lever up as well. So their profit will go up because you can respond faster than a human. I talked about the algo expert CEO that commented on one of my LinkedIn posts. He gave a bunch of metrics, and if you were to read them, you'd be like, "Why aren't you using AI more?" And they are. So it's definitely more profitable for firms that use it in their trading, for sure. I'm more than confident saying that. In terms of the retail, the unfortunate thing for them, and including my portfolio managers, they're just dinosaurs. As I said, and even the AI comes back and says, if you're not using AI as you should, you're going to be competing against other firms, other retail traders that are using AI, and they will be able to get access to orders faster than the dinosaurs, the horse and buggy people. So AI is going to be a big thing. It'll be a standard. I think we're already pretty close to a standard where AI for sure, but then there's AI, and as I said earlier, it's the agents as well that will make this more efficient in a way. Jane Street seemed to be at the top of the food chain currently. I don't know. It was kind of interesting. Some of the AI came out with that. there's different, like you have to figure out from the institutional level, there's quant trading operations, there's market makers, and I can't remember and then there's just traditional hedge funds. Because each one's different. So quant fund would be like I think it was Jump Street. I think it was Jump Street. No, sorry, Two Sigma and Renaissance Technology. Then there's a hedge fund like Citadel. So each one's different with a different set of strategies. And Jane Street, it's just, they always get charged with something or fined with something. If it's not in India, they seem to find ways to do dirtier kind of trading. I don't know why, but they seem to get fined a lot. I'll just leave it at that. I don't know what they're doing because I'm not there. Oh, new person, Electric Junk. Welcome. Hello. Green and lurking. Peace, my dude. Drama all over. Yes. I could go and start attacking other channels and negative this, negative that. Lots of channels thrive on that. And they build an audience, and then over the long run, they start to build in the wrong type of audience I want to have. I like to have high achievers that do things. If you fail, that's fine, but as long as you implement stuff, that's the kind of target market I'm after. And when I started streaming in early January, it was nothing but trolls. They don't seem to appear for the last month for whatever reason. I don't know, but there's been very very few trolls. Anybody that's been watching this for a while can attest to that. Some really nasty stuff. Anybody else got any questions or comments? Let me know. I guess we could talk about the general stuff now. People are gonna ask, when am I gonna be done with the agentic? I can't say. I would like to say I'd like to do it tomorrow, next week. It's impossible now because they're just, as I mentioned earlier, these logic errors, not exceptions, not compile errors or whatever. These logic errors are always there. And right now, the last day, well, in the last couple of hours, it's always something to do with multi-currency, something's getting blocked, and I have to find a solution for it, then re-implement and basically rewrite the AI will rewrite the whole thing. As I said, I'm right now on my third iteration since Monday on this thing. And these are major rewrites. So we'll see. I hope this one solution I got will be the signal saying, yes, it works. We're past the multi-currency and the parallelism going on. Because I got 9 bots all competing for the attention of one rhythmic connection. That's the problem, basically, in a nutshell. Anybody else got any questions or comments? How about you, JDI, Aaron? I don't know. But yeah, I'm always interested to know where people are calling or watching from. I know there's some Irish and UK folks. JDI asks, I wonder how far the costs for these AI agents go down. I can't wait to see good DeepSeek 4 is. Yeah, DeepSeek will change all that. I've already noticed that Codex, the costs have come down because they need to stay competitive to the Chinese ones. DeepSeek's very, very low cost. UK, I know you're in UK, I know that. But thanks for letting me know. With the AI costs, they are coming down with the exception of one because they're the little starling of the AI industry, and that's Anthropic. Everybody uses Anthropic. They are taking full advantage of it, and they're milking it as much as they can. Good on them. I'm part of that crowd. But as I said earlier, OpenAI just said we can only focus on business-related stuff and coding. And so OpenAI is going to get out of the general AI because the Chinese AI are killing them. And people go, how can the Chinese AI compete? Well, a lot of it, from what I understand, is CCP, and China subsidizes a lot of it. That's why the cars are much lower cost. And the same could be said for the AI as well coming out of China. It's subsidized. And they do that because from a international trading perspective, that's the equivalent of dumping, where you have a cost of, let's say, a car, and they just literally dump it in an international market like the States to undercut the US market. And the WTO don't like that, and that's called dumping. So that's kind of legal, but that's what they're kind of doing with the AI. And they're also adding insult to injury by open sourcing it as well. So Quen's doing a great job at that. And now you can do Quen on a phone. So there goes the concept of all of the market value of the data centers. Like look at OpenAI, the funder of all the data centers. That's why a lot of the private equity is in trouble, because they were all dependent upon the this data center outlay, and now they just scaled back the Stargate data center in Texas, for one of both Oracle and OpenAI. So they're all scaling back since this little Quen thing happened, where you can put a Quen model onto a local phone. So that whole data center's gone. And that's what the Chinese like to do, is they like to pretty well take out all their competition wherever they can. And, they're doing it now in AI. But as you said, the one that's going to really change the game is waiting to see this DeepSeek for what it can and cannot do. I think if DeepSeek can do all the math, algo stuff for specifically quant trading, which I know they can because they are a former quant shop, and also to be able to generate high quality code, yeah, DeepSeek is going to change it all again. Have you heard about the potential SpaceX IPO? Yes, I have. That's a weird one because they're kind of going out of their way to outside of the standard, because they wanted to get fast access to some I think it's NASDAQ, and become one of the top stocks listed. So I haven't really been paying attention to it, but I've seen the headlines. But yeah, that'll probably be the largest IPO ever. I mean, that's one of the reasons why, from Musk's perspective, even Tesla, like he dropped how many models? Because he can't compete with the Chinese car manufacturers, especially on price. So he's reduced it to a core of cars, and that's why he also merged XAI and SpaceX together, which I think is pretty smart. But he's still got an edge in space as well, and he's doing some pretty interesting things with OpenAI as well. I'm sorry, XAI. So I don't know. To people that may not know, it was not in the mainstream, but they have now. X has something called Grok 4 called multi-agent. I've not really played with it at all, but that came out I think on Friday. But it's not gotten any attention, and it's kind of getting popular. So if you have AI, do check that out. Grok 4 multi-agent. That's what it's called. So I think it's to compete against the likes of what do you call Meta took over, and Claude does a lot of agents, because that's what I'm using to develop my agents. I did use Codex to develop agents. That one was a weird one because everything was in Python, and it needed to build it out in with a Python framework, where I don't know what the one I'm using for Claude is. I just haven't looked at the code, to be honest. Yeah, Manus, that's the one that Meta took over. That was a leading one, but Meta, as usual, is just. I mean, I still think it's still competitive, but I really thought Meta would have implemented it better. All I get on Facebook now is just try it, and then you just try it, and it's just everything else is the same. So Meta is really losing an opportunity there, because they could and should integrate it into their Meta AI app. Was at the time when I looked at it a few months ago, it was quite a leading model, especially that was actually the first real true agentic model, Manus, a while back when they first came out, and they led the charge for a while. So a lot of them caught up and built it into their reasoning and thinking for a lot of the more mainstream providers like OpenAI and Anthropic, and now, as I said, XAI. So, or sorry, yeah, XAI. So, we'll see where that goes. Any of you guys got any further questions or comments? Anything you want to say? Aaron, if you got any questions, I don't know if you want to post your stuff into the public domain in YouTube. Let me know. Just so you know, I'm probably going to get rid of my booking service. I'm going to start looking at paring back a lot of things. I'm just scattered everywhere. My brain's scattered because of it. So all my current stuff, the platforms I'm on, I'm probably going to start cutting it all back and just keeping it all automated. JDI, with all these cheap AI models, I wonder if investors get their return on investment from these AI investments. No, unfortunately, I don't see it. I mean, if you look at a company like Minimax, they were a stock in, I think it's Singapore. They're listed on the SGX on Singapore. I think for a while they must have been a hot stock, but because of the competition, now they're not the hot stock anymore because they're not the hot AI anymore. Now it'll be GLM, and I know GLM, which is ZAI, that's listed on the, I think on the Chinese stock market. So they're kind of doing okay, leading the pack there. And then DeepSeek will come along and probably take the reins for a while. So we'll see. So in terms of the investments, no. I mean, that's why they talk about this AI failure. First, I thought it'd only be around OpenAI. Okay, the only one that's really doing well is Anthropic because everybody's using them. But at some point, even Anthropic and Claude will not be able to stay ahead of the pack because it seems every week, every release, any Chinese AI gets more and more competitive and gets closer and closer to closing that gap that any of the Claude models have. And you could see already OpenAI is kind of like already kind of giving up on what they're trying to be. They must be hemorrhaging so much money at OpenAI, but Anthropic seems to be doing well, and that's probably the one I'd probably follow if you want to follow that game. And the other thing is with NVIDIA as well, you know, people don't realize that the Chinese got cut off from a lot of the Western technology, so they built out their own technology base. A great example of that is when Google told Huawei and a lot of Chinese handsets, devices, and the manufacturers in China saying, we're not going to support you anymore. You no longer have access to Android. So what does Huawei do? They now build out their own mobile OS called Harmony. So now Harmony may become a big threat to Apple iOS, but the Harmony may eventually become, as they roll out, specifically like in India, Harmony may become a big mobile OS that competes directly into Android and then could eat into Android's market share. But I do know Google's going to have some new mobile OS. I think they're going to replace it with Chrome OS, from what I understand. But it's just, my point is that when you force specifically a country like China that builds out its own industry to compete, over time that they become a very formidable competitor. I don't know. That's all I could say because you could see that in the car industry coming out of China. You can see that in the AI coming out of the industry. You can see that in mobile related. And more now is the avionic or the aviation industry. You got Boeing and a lot of the big avionic manufacturers in the U.S. Yet people don't know, but China's got a rising aviation industry. So they could be another force to be reckoned with as well. So who knows? I know I'm rambling on here. You guys got questions or comments at all? I could go on and on and on and on and on and on. I got the gift of the gab, as they say. Um, Hour and a half, man. That's great. But if you guys got comments, I can get back to my debugging this thing. Spending my another $30, $40 for the day on AI cost with this freaking Claude arm and a leg cost to run Claude. It's like with these competitors, these codecs and some of the Chinese ones. You could go around, as I said, you could use those AI using what I built out, and you'd be just chasing around your tail all day long. And it's only Claude, when you use it, breaks that chain. So if you want to save time, spend the money and go with Claude. But I will not use Claude Code at all, or the desktop, because I know how it works now, because they have all their little agents run in parallel using that swarm technique that I talked about earlier. And that can get very expensive. How much time do you spend a day developing and building your bot? I mentioned this earlier, JDI, since Friday. Hope you're sitting down every waking moment. Literally 18 hours a day since Friday, for sure. I've been very, 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 very aggressive to get this thing built. I got my first iteration done Monday, yay. Content put out, posted about it, rewrote it again. The AI just went ahead and rewrote because of a challenge, rewrote the whole core of it. And now, just earlier today, rewrote that to a third iteration. So, yeah, it's pretty crazy. But I won't stop until I get something working. And hopefully, with this new iteration, I can say, yay, it's done. And then that's to test it in using real market data from Rhythmic. And then there's the next phase, which is going to find the way to take those trading bots that are profitable and move them into its own separate environment where it's duplicated, but only running the profitable strategies. So there's going to be two environments I have to maintain. You guys get questions or comments? Let me tell you how that works. Originally, I was going to use Interactive Brokers for the test environment and use Rhythmic for the production. I could do that, but as I said, with the Python API, I found quite literally by accident, but I've been working on that, and I like actions like this because my development, it's more challenging, but there's a lot more reward that comes with it. And the big one is I now, and officially, and the second time I'm saying this, I have Linux support on Rhythmic without needing to use their fancy pant mega $1 million diamond API. So I can still run Linux technically officially from Rhythmic. I have the support if I use the Python, which I'm using. So you can use the Python API on Linux. And yeah, they said it should. They said the phrase was, "You should not have a problem." Well, I had a problem, but that's okay. I'm still running on Windows because that's what I'm used to. So there is that. You guys got any other questions or comments? The thing is with Python, it's not as easy as it seems. There's a lot of security levels in the C++ is definitely the hardest, but you get some extra features with the C++ API. And I'm talking about the Rhythmic that you will not get on any other API. Whereas Python is better to work on, but then you have these things called protobuf. And man, that's without AI, I would not be able to get past where I'm at. If I was to hand code this, I'd be lost, to be honest. So none of the other APIs, be it .NET or C++, use protobuf. And look it up. It's a Google framework, and it's kind of I'm still trying to figure out if that's part of their security that Rhythmic uses to keep everything in line, among other layers of security. It's pretty. I had an instance today where I think the Rhythmic servers thought I was a hacker, and then there's no response. So there's these nuances that are not documented at all that I have to guess what's going on with this. And that's where I come back and talk about the logic errors. I'm dealing with exceptions and runtime things that just weird things are happening. So as I said, I'm forced to log it and take those logs, feed them to an API telling me what the problem is, and then feed that result back into an AI, and it specifically tells me what's going on. And it comes back to it's a lot of the bots are blocking each other. That's essentially what's been going on for today, and hopefully I've got a workaround for that. Things like that can bog you down, and those are some of the reasons why I can't sit here and go, yeah, I'll take me only 2 days or 3 days to get the thing working. No, because what I'm working with is a lot of unforeseen issues I just cannot predict, and I've never seen before because they're not documented. So I can. That's all I can say on that. If you guys got questions, comments, let me know. I don't like to be sitting here talking to the camera by myself and wondering what the reactions. I got 2 likes. Wow, thank you, appreciate it. But yeah, it's been kind of hectic since Friday. I'm very aggressive to get this done. And when I say to get this done, I'm talking about to actually get what I have and be able to transition profitable trading bots into an environment where I can deploy those and have it running with real money. It's one thing to say practical all you want, practical for years upon years, and then you get to a point where you have to put it to theory. You're for theory for many years, and then you have to at some point put it into practice, and that's what's driving that, because I want to whatever I talk about to get it into practice and actually live trading with it. Yeah, so GDI, does this AI sometimes struggle with things that are undocumented having been mentioned anywhere on the internet? Again, that depends upon the model you're using. If you're using like Quen's getting better, but usually I've used Quen multiple times, and just as I said, you just go around in circles and you waste your time. And the only way you can break that chain is by using a better model. So then you go, okay, I'll use Codex, let's say. And then you might get past the problem, but depending upon the model and the provider, there's something called context and the history of the conversation of what you're trying to do. But the thing needs to remember as it changes things. So last night as a great example. This happened on Claude. Okay, so I told you I had the iteration where rewritten all of the core of my old code that was working. So lo and behold, that rewriting went ahead and took out some of my other working, more recent code that was working. So it took me a while to figure out, I had to reverse engineer to figure out what the problem was. So again, that can happen on any AI. Yeah, there's a lot of struggle as well when it's undocumented. Now, this is not undocumented with the AI itself. It's to do with a lot of the APIs out there, because depending upon how that AI is written. So for example, if I know the AI is written by Google or Microsoft, where it's going to be hopefully of high quality and the APIs really well documented, I have no worries. But if you're dealing with other frameworks or APIs that are written by, dare I say, Mickey Mouse operations and don't believe in documentation, this is where the frustration comes in, because when you look at a call within an API and you expect this, but it's not happening for whatever reason, you have 2 options. You got to play guess, and that's where your whole experience working with software comes in throughout your career. That's what saves you generally. Or you can somewhat use an AI to be able to help you break that cycle. So as I said, the 2 classic ways to do it is to log it. And some of the models of AI are very good when you pass those logs, those debugging logs, to an AI, generally it can tell you kind of what the problem is. Whereas if you have the Claude 4.6, because it's so advanced, not only will it tell you what the problem is, it will give you a solution, a working solution. And generally, when it gives you a working solution, it's pretty reliable. No other model AI provider gives you that. That's why Claude is so expensive, because it works. And the other thing is, for many months, as I said, because now I'm using AI, where AI generates a trading bot dynamically. So that bot that gets created dynamically has to run flawlessly from the get-go. No exceptions, nothing. The only ones that can do that on the complexity that I'm doing is Codex or Claude. I've tested on the Chinese ones, and it's very watered down or full of bugs or errors. And Quen's notorious for that, unfortunately. And some of the other Chinese ones are at that point. But Codex, depending upon what you're trying to do, it's still watered down. But if you really want the fancy pant, fully rich, feature rich functionality in this kind of thing that I'm trying to do, yeah, you have to do it in Claude advanced model, like a Sonnet or even a Claude, but you pay for that. And that's why I'm at $30, $40 a day, because that's what I'm mostly using now to get around this. This is it's frustrating, yeah, but I keep telling myself, but if I was to spend time on it, where I bill myself out for that, or to hire somebody, I'm like paying one penny compared to $1 if it was myself billing myself out or bringing somebody in to code that up. So these are the things you got to contend with, unfortunately, on just general AI. But as I said, if you're trying to build out a simple SaaS or a website, yeah, you could do it with anything. But when you're building out really complicated stuff, which I didn't think was complicated, but from what I'm seeing, it is complicated. Yeah, you got to have fairly advanced AI, meaning Claude. Not just that, but it also depends upon the language. Because I'm fortunately in Python, there's enough data sets out there within these AI models that the AI, with what I prompt it with, has enough resources within those data sets and training that it can refer back to and then come back with an output or response where I'll say, do this, and it will run flawlessly. The only one day in and day out that consistent works like that is Claude. Codex is trying to be like that, but Claude always comes out on top. And as I said, that's why you got to pay top dollar. So you got to ask yourself, do you want to go through the cycle or the circle of repetition and never break out of, because you're using a lower grade AI where that AI model may not be built for coding, first of all, or may not be very good at debugging, but where you lay out a schematic and a basic code base, lots of AI can do that. But as it builds out, and depending upon the significance and the language, that matters as well. So it depends upon, there's no one use case to say this AI is better than that AI. If you're willing to pay for it, yeah, I would use Claude. But using Claude Code might be dangerous because of the swarming that they built into these agents. When I first started using Claude, I was just simple coding projects, and I'm like, why is it spinning up 14 agents to do this simple thing? I had no control over it. And that's where, as I said, the Claude Code in a Claude or Anthropic subscription can get really, really out of control, because I personally think they do that by design, especially if you're new at it. Yeah, you like one guy I saw online, he paid $200 and he was complaining, why am I now faced with a $14,000 bill in 1 month? Well, because you probably got addicted to it and you just went crazy, didn't watch your activity on the account. And no, this is the other problem with Anthropic. They don't cap these subscriptions. They purposely don't cap them. And then if you go over them, they're not going to let you know, most likely, and you keep using it. Now you got a $14,000 bill, just so you know. Anybody else got any questions or comments? I know I'm rambling here, but these are my experiences over the last 9 months with AI. Um, so for the one way to get around that is to use something like Open Router, kind of like a aggregator to all the models. And I'm unsure if they have a cap on if you subscribe for a $200 a month or $100 a month account. Is it a hard cap saying, oh, you used all your tokens or points? Got to pay up now before we can continue. There's not many subscriptions that do that. GDI, full of questions. That's great. Do you think it is at a point that it can replicate strategies deployed by the likes of Two Sigma, Jane Street, Citadel? It's already doing that. One of my videos, if you're doing, let's say, career and you wanted to know specific questions on interviews that Citadel will ask you, you can get that. Even on the cheaper AI models, for sure, you can get that. So we're already there. But what a lot of the interviewers will do is they will do the role playing. So if you don't know how to do the role playing, you get killed in the interview. In terms of the strategies, I think it's pretty safe to say, depending upon the model. I do know some of the Chinese ones will say, build me a quant strategy like so and so, and it will do it. Or if you have some kind of research paper or some kind of algorithm, and then the AI builds it. Now, this is the Chinese AI. It'll come back and say, you know, this is similar to Jane Street, how they build it. Oh, this could be the same one as Two Sigma. I see that all the time. So, yes, very capable, especially on the two models that are well known for that are Kimi and DeepSeek for sure. Because both those providers are, as I said, former quant shops, former hedge fund shops. So a lot of their team are quants. So anything to do with quant trading, a lot of those researchers building out the models, they're generally coming from the same world as quants. So it's an absolute yes. That yes, those models, those strategies can mimic any of the big league, and sometimes they'll tell you the newer ones may not do that, but definitely some of the older Kimi was well known for that. Kimi back in the fall, I was such at a point where I'd say, give me some secretive HFT unknown trading model, blah 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 blah. With that model, Kimi, it would tell me exactly what it was and some of the outside of the realm that are borderline legal, outright illegal things that HFT shops do. But now with the new Kimi, uh, all that bias, you can't get any of that data anymore because of the biases built into the newer versions of Kimi, unfortunately. But back in the fall, yeah, you could easily get conspiracy level, high frequency trading strategy ideas. Yeah, it was pretty impressive. And anything conspiracy related, it was like, really? They do that? And yeah, that model was fantastic for that. But now, over the last year, I think the CCP has kind of clamped down on that. And now they have the biases to prevent that from coming out in any of the newer models. And all the older models just drop away. So trying to look for that particular model may not exist anymore. But man, it was a great model to know. For instance, any models you've identified without the bias? Well, I was just going to answer that for you, GDI. So, for example, some of the secretive stuff that the HFT shops use are data providers that I don't think the newer models will tell you about. So, for instance, some of the techniques that a lot of HFT shops would use. So let's say if they knew that gold mining was going to go up, they would have data services that they would get access to, like through an API, and the satellite was purely built for watching smoke coming out of gold mines. So if they knew that there's smoke coming out of the gold mines, and they knew that possibly the gold price would go up. Or another example, hey, crypto-rific, I'm sure you got lots of things you'd like to ask, but mind you, go ahead. But coming back to this HFT stuff, the other one that was really good was, how do they know if the Fed is going to make a move on interest rates being up or down? You know how they did it? There would be satellite services that would watch the parking lot of the Federal Reserve. So if there's more cars overnight before the actual call, the meeting for the call, they'd be able to determine if there's going to be at least a move on the Fed. They didn't know which it was going to be, up or down, but that was one way how they gauge if there's a federal call, a Federal Reserve call. Another example, again, back to gold or silver, it was amazing. Like, what they would do is, with transfers out of the LME or out of the warehouses in London, to know if gold was being transferred out, what the satellite services would do, they'd watch the number of security trucks coming in and then transporting out the physical gold. So they'd watch that. And the other cool thing was, they were able to determine what planes the gold was being loaded onto, and through the Sky Tracker apps, they knew the registration of the plane, and they knew where it was going to go. So they knew exactly who was buying the gold. If it was going to New Jersey, they said, oh, it must be most likely either the Federal Reserve or a big hedge fund or a bank. So they were able to track the flights in real time, where the flights of the gold was going to. Things like this. Or another classic one was, they'd watch the actual smoke out of the CME servers, out of the Aurora data centers. So they'd watch the smoke come out of the data centers, and be able to, if there's more smoke coming out of the data center in Aurora, then they knew that was because the servers were revving up and more activity in the market. For what, I don't know, but they can measure through that. I could go on. It's like a PI level, CIA level stuff. Another one, they knew. So some of the firms, what they would do to know in the gold vaults, some of these firms, what they would do is they'd go to some staff member in one of the vaults and say, hey, we're going to give you X amount of dollars, and can you rig the keypad that goes into the vaults, so that you know how many times, and maybe even who's accessing the vaults, which obviously is illegal because it's equivalent of a hacking. So there was all these crazy operations that some of these firms would go to see on Federal Reserve, on gold. It's crazy. I could list so many, but that was a good chunk of them, and the like. And knowing that back in the fall, you can't find any of those answers anymore in any of the AI that I've seen, because I specifically knew exactly what to prompt to get those answers. It was crazy. It was actually incredible. But it was like Alex Jones InfoWars level conspiracy theory stuff. It was absolutely like, no, this can't be happening. But yeah, it has to be going on. If you guys got any other questions, and some of the models I used back in the fall, I'm just waiting for a question or a comment to come up. I'd be waiting for this one AI out of China, and I knew we were past the singularity. Okay, I think I mentioned this before. I asked it specifically, what do I need to do to build out this high frequency trading level thing algorithm to be deployed onto an FPGA board? So it would tell you exactly what you need, and it would give me the code as well, believe it or not, and burn it onto a board. And then you go, okay, how much is it going to cost me for the servers to set up everything, to set it up in the CME Aurora data center for high frequency trading? What corporate structure do I need? Where do I go? And how much will it cost? It gave me all the answers. Just so you know, that's all still in one of my memberships, all there. Yeah, I didn't move that out. Very valuable information, I think. But conspiracy level stuff, it's crazy for the high frequency trading. If you guys got questions, let me know. Cryptorific, I appreciate your enthusiasm. Here he goes. First question out. Okay, so these GitHub repos coming out for auto research and swarm processing, will you be using them? No. I let the AI do all the coding for me under my own control, and that control is done via prompting. If I was to show you my library of prompts since I started this, I've got 60 pages of prompts, and everyone's going to go, oh, I want to copy that. Well, I have secret sauce stuff I have to maintain. But if you know how to prompt properly and you know how to map out the result that you're looking for, you have to know how to coerce the AI to get the result you're looking for. So all of these GitHub repositories you speak of on the auto research is just very generic. It's not specific for what I want. And most of all, the way I'm doing these agents now, it's not specific for the market conditions because those are very generic, very general. Where I'm now very specific on the timing of news events and writing code in anticipation on those moves from that news. And that's all done within an hour now. We're at that point. And I can do every time I run this process, I can now generate, right now, 9 to 11 bots, strategies. So in terms of the swarm processing is what we call a lot more extra, especially if it's against an AI. The swarm processing is uses a lot more computer utilization, and that results in higher costs in terms of AI. So I don't use that. I learned that, and I've already mentioned that already earlier with the swarming techniques when it comes to orchestrating via your agents. So he's got them all locked and loaded here. Okay, so you'll customize from the base up. I've been stuck looking for base repos to build off of. I wouldn't do that. I would like start simple, and with the original concept of ChatGPT, you go in a conversation, you say to the GPT saying, I have this idea, and it'll come back with responses. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to guide the AI specifically what you're looking for. So the more data you can give it, the more code you can give it, and just ask for the opinion of this AI. And I will tell you, Claude is very good at this. It will give you the answer you seek. Now, I've already mentioned not long ago, like in the last 10 minutes, what Kimi, the older version of Kimi did, because it was great for that. But the unfortunate problem is a lot of the newer, current and more recent AI has brought in this bias. So you're not able to get these high quality answers as you used to. But you still can kind of coerce the AI to give you exactly what you're wanting. But in terms of these to work off of for references, that's fine. A good way to do that is if you got the code of the repository from GitHub, what you can do is you can upload all that code as part of your prompting. And they say, this is what this code does. I want you to figure a way to use this code as a base to give me X. You can do that for sure. And that's what I said. The more you give the AI logs, code, the better. And you'll get better responses and faster response to what you're looking for as a goal. And you can do that specifically in trading as well. I'm planning to start the news analysis system. Good. Okay, let me update there. As I said before, I'm using CNBC, Bloomberg, all the mainstream stuff. I'm also, which is really a good place to start, is you look at, let's say if you want to trade only Bitcoin, you can use Reddit and all the top subreddits from Bitcoin and use those as sources to give you the information you need. Okay? Reddit is the number one source for all AI as a website. That's where all the AI gets a lot of their training from, is on Reddit. So you can use Reddit alone and just provide maybe an independent, a single post on a subreddit on Bitcoin or trading, algo trading, whatever you want to trade. You can provide it as part of your prompt and then say, see, this is what it said, and then specifically say what you want to do or the result that you're wanting, and supply a Reddit post or a series of Reddit subreddit, because the AI is so advanced where it can give you the solution that you're looking for. So as I said, the more data you can give it, the better response and the faster the response will be. So you can use, what I'm saying is, for a news analysis system, you could just use some of the more, let's say if you're doing futures and options, as an example, you can use openly the Elite Trader forum, okay? Because the AI will scan that, because all that, it's kind of like scraping, but it does it more, I don't know, in a less subversive way. And it'll scan what you're looking for, or a specific page or a specific post on something like Elite Trader or subreddit. So I'm starting to realize you may not need an actual news source but you can use Reddit and specific forum groups as a source exclusively, as well. What about giving it a repo of APIs so it gets a head start finding sources for data? Yeah, if you give it too much data, again, if you're using one of the cheaper free, let's say Chinese LLMs or models, it's going to choke and it's going to give you a watered down result. You don't want that. And that's why I'm saying the more you pay for the more advanced models, the more recent models, specifically hint, hint, Claude 4.6, you'll get a much, much better response versus on Codex. With Codex, it'll be a lot more watered down. But if you want specific feature-rich responses on top of, the Claude will also give its own, call it opinion. It does that. Like, that's how advanced Claude, and only Claude does that. The new DeepSeek 4 may do that, but right now, the only one that does that is 4.6 for a Claude Opus. What about giving a repo? Oh, I've already answered that. Do you pull news via RRS? I don't pull it. Well, I guess you can call it. It pulls it, yeah. But I'm just supplying the link to in my prompt, and it will look at it. The AI will look at it, assess it, and then build a unique response for you based upon your prompt. And again, it's like a glorified on steroids scraper, and then it gives you the answers that you want from the model. The more advanced the model, the better response. And as I said, sometimes it will enhance the code or enhance the result that you didn't even ask for. Gemini is good for that as well. But the best one, I think, right now is the Claude. And as I talked about before, the Grok 4 multi-agent may be good for that as well. I haven't tried it, but you may want to look into it. Did you have to teach your AI your own trading strategies? No, I'm at a point now in the last 2 days, all I'm looking at is using news and then be able to prompt it to generate, call it a report, and then have the different AI model, Codex or Claude, the most recent, assess the report and then build strategies from that. That's what I'm generically doing. And I just give it in Python, please. Thank you. So that's how I do it. It's much easier to do it with interactive brokers than, let's say, Rhythmic, because interactive brokers is popular where something like Rhythmic is more closed source, where like if it's a popular broker and it has an API and there's a lot of knowledge base on it, you'll get better success with something like interactive brokers. So hopefully I'll answer all your questions there. You guys got further questions or comments? Load them, like shoot away. I'm here. Let's do it. I'll be doing more of this next week for sure. But as I said, I'm kind of probably scaling back my booking because I gotta really focus on the AI stuff. Anybody else got questions? We're at 2 hours. That's surprising. But as it stands right now, I'm moving ahead fast and furious with everything. When I see the light or the end of it, I have to get to a point where everything's not just trading live orders, but it has to be stable. That's another ball of wax I could throw out there. Is it safe to go all in Python? Absolutely. I would start with Python. As I said earlier, because Python's the easiest, most popular, and the AI can work the best. And then if you, as I said earlier in this stream, if you get more sustainable, more predictable, then you can start adding more complexities, be it in Python. In my case, if I'm futures only, I can add in options as well. Or if I want to do it faster, I can do it in C++, but then it gets more complicated. But you want to start simple, get to a point where you're profitable, and not just that, but you're profitable in a sustainable long-term way. Once you get that point, then you start to worry about other languages and whatnot. But I'd only start with Python and Python only because it's simple. I've been in program for 20 years, but never messed with C++. C++ is all fine and good. Right now, I think the language doesn't matter because with the way AI is, as I said, I haven't really significantly looked at code anymore because I know if it's going to be from Codex or any of them really, the code's going to be fairly good quality. They run. I rarely see, like once it's at a stable state, I rarely see an exception. Rarely. But usually if it's with Claude, it's the most advanced, that's for sure. So if you're starting with Python, it's fine because JavaScript the same because they're popular languages. But once you get to one of the more C#, C++, then I don't know now where it's at, but just in the last 3 months, it wasn't the quality of code. It was just more complicated to get something done with C++. Whereas with Python in one iteration, I usually get what I need, my result. Whereas C++, it's so many dependencies and things you need to build out. So, and that gets in your way more. Like, do I need a header file or do I need a C++ file? How do I load in this dependency? Blah, blah, blah. With Python, it's just package managers and that you're dealing with, and that's it. So yeah, C++, with algo trading, like from a newbie standpoint, unless you're an expert in it, it's kind of overkill for now, and especially on a smaller account too. I think C++ is really good for when you want to need, like at a $50,000 account and up, most likely. So Python's fine for anything under 50K alone, just on the account size. Who's got further questions? Anybody? We have a good crowd tonight. Yeah, because right now I'm just in the middle of the debugging, and people have been asking since Friday, 18-hour days, every day since Friday. I'm not complaining. I love doing this actually, but I just want to get to a result where I can get it running. But to be truthful, to where I'm at now, where I can take news, build a little report, and then build trading bots flawlessly and run them in an environment against now real market data. I mean, just alone in that, it's a huge accomplishment as far as I'm concerned. But as I said, I'm at the point now where they're all these bots are competing against each other for one rhythmic connection. So cryptorific. So when you have AI produce a news-based strategy, do you follow its take profit, stop loss, or do you have a risk system you use? How do you track the plan when a trade setup is, if then, is this watching live? Okay, that's an easy question. When you start working from the news to some form of summarized report, and then you build out a your trading bots. Usually in the strategy itself, you'll see that it's basically comes down to trading rules. So remember, if you're coming off of a certain price at a certain snapshot in the day, and it's anticipating some news to either drive it down or up, usually what we'll come back with is do this when it hits this price or when it hits this percent. So it's giving you the targets most of the time in the strategy rules. So there's no fundamental, there's no technical analysis, there's none of that. It's really rule based where it's just giving you some form of target. And once it's achieved the target and the price, then it'll load up more or it will exit the trade. It's very simple. But the AI does all that based upon the news and depending again on your model that you're using for AI and depending upon your prompting as well. That's what strives for the better response. But there is really no take profit or stop loss triggered because the AI is working off of a price and it's working off of that target. So when you look at the code in the bot, you'll go, why is it hard coded? Because the point is, it's not a generic algorithm. It's an algorithm, kind of like an algorithm, only built for that snapshot in time. And from that snapshot in time, when the price hits that certain target, that bot most likely can be disposed of. Because as I said, it's not a generic algorithm. It's built with hard-coded numbers in there. And when it hits a certain number, hard-coded again, that's it. You're done with the bot. And you throw it away and you go back maybe next day or 6 hours later, or 2 hours later, and recycle and repeat. Rinse and repeat, as they say. Rinse, recycle, repeat. But in the code itself, a lot of it will be hard-coded. And people go, oh, that's no good. Well, that's fine for people who want to build out these generic magical models and algorithms. I don't think those work anymore because when you look at in time from the late 90s up until today, it was just a momentum trade with the S&P 500. You could just sit in that all day and all night, not do anything else, and you'd be making money. So now a lot of these traders that have depended upon that strategy model are now being challenged because the markets have either gone flat, highly volatile, or very little growth. And then they're forced to build new strategies. Well, and guess what? You build a strategy today, in 2 days that strategy may be irrelevant and may never come back because, as I said, because of the crazy, unpredictable volatility. And a lot of that right now is driven by, you know who, at the head honcho in the U.S. You have no control over that, unfortunately. So again, cryptorific. So it gets triggered by news, but then uses like market data feed to watch for the entry signal. Bingo. I would change the market data. Depending upon how you do it, you could either stream it, which is preferable, but in my case, because the resources I'm using, it's doing it in snapshots, using really historical data, but very tight. But if you can do it streaming it, like from something like Interactive Brokers, or better for a cleaner stream quality of data, like Rhythmic, you can stream it. So that's one thing you can look for. And the entry signal is built around the number of the potential price point as your signal. And then for the exit, it may actually give you the exit signal as well. And that's all, again, all hard-coded. as part of the AI when it's doing. What if the setup is based on Powell rate change? How will you get live data, but then when it gets published? That's why you have to have your bot ready to go as fast as possible. So a lot of the bots that I've seen that get developed are exactly that. It's built around an event. It sees a news event that may come down a week from now or 3 days, and that's going to appear in the news. So what tends to happen, if it knows that a good example would be, good example. So what's happening with Iran, and they were threatening to shut down the Strait of Hormuz, meaning all of the oil production was going to get shut coming out of the Mideast or Persian Gulf. What the AI determined was, oh, why don't we look at this instrument called the Japan South Korea mark? I never heard of this, but the AI gave it to me. And that's somewhat can be traded on the CME. So it knew that this news event of oil production was going to get closed down because of the news recommended saying, well, maybe pile your money into this thing where you can get all your production and refinery done out of Japan and Korea, specifically on an instrument for that you could develop a trading bot that is sitting there ready to read that specific instrument of data and then start trading. So that's a sort of example when you're anticipating an event where it's predictable. That's one of the more classic ones that I've seen. Or another one that came out was oil was going to potentially stop, and that it knew that there's going to be price increases. So one of the ones that came up that I've never seen this, where it predicted jet fuel would go up. This was about a week ago, okay? Maybe, a week ago. Well, it's gone up 50% if you had traded it and had a bot sitting there ready to trade and ride out that price increase. So that's another predictable event that you could use to trade off of, because the AI sees the news event and then most likely built around how it anticipates the volume of that instrument, it will then develop a potential bot around that. And that's what the AI does. It looks at co-integration of things. It looks at relationships of other assets against another asset. And the AI, if it's a really intelligent AI, it will be able to predict on the news all these different cross strategies, co-integration in instruments, arbitrage opportunity, and it will build a entire bot for you. That's how intelligent it is. It's pretty incredible when you see it run, or not run, but being built out in the code. So there is that. So how will the AI get that live data when it gets published? As I said, it's because it's using the news event that it sees. So again, if the news is saying Strait of Hormuz is going to get closed, no more production coming out of Middle East, traders are going to start looking at other alternative ways to where the oil get refined. And as I said, the Japan, South Korea was one market as an alternative, and it built out a bot strategy for that. And it did it twice. Okay, so that's kind of like the example. I see this across Ethereum, Bitcoin, all the major stock indices, everything. And it anticipates using virtually unknown keep trading ideas, and it implements them into a strategy or a trading bot. It's incredible. And now I could run it and it'll collect all the news through an agent, as I've explained, downloads everything, puts them in a report, and then have that one last agent, which will build out a trading bot for it. And it can do it on average 9 to 12 trading bots for that. In fact, with a Bitcoin, it could have 3 trading bots built for 3 different strategies specifically for Bitcoin. Or it could build out an opportunity that it sees where Bitcoin and Ethereum, which is a very popular pair traded by institutions. But obviously, you can't, you could kind of trade that as a pair, an arbitrage through the CME, or if you got specific with the AI, you could probably prompt and say, assume that we're going to be trading on Binance or Deribit, and build out a trading bot specifically for that exchange using Bitcoin and Ethereum. So there's different ways you can do it. And it's just nonstop opportunities that the AI picks up, all on specific news. And now I can run it 24/7. No, sorry, 5 days a week on the CME. And if I decided to expand it onto Binance or Deribit, any of the crypto exchanges, I could do that too. And it will pick up some opportunities in some of the altcoins as well. Like I saw XRP had some opportunities, Solana as well. So it covers a lot. But what drives it, it's that volume. It's the volume that drives, basically, as I said earlier, it's the hot capital flow that will drive that profit potential as an opportunity. And if that hot capital flow is not there, that opportunity may not happen, which means the bot won't perform for profit, if that makes sense. So that's kind of like how it is. It sounds simple, but if you kind of rinse, repeat, recycle, rinse with what I'm doing, and having the trading bots dynamically created, it's the best way to trade because it's adjusting to what's going on in the market. And it's doing types of trading that you would never think of, as I said earlier. Who's got questions about that? I know it's a mouthful, but we're on a video, so you can rewind and fast forward and blah, 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 blah on that. Because that's quite a bit, but more advanced. But I do think now that I'm playing with it, that this is the optimal way to trade, especially in these unpredictable markets. Cryptorific, you like Opus the most for these news-based strategies development. Where are the following news for Solana, XRP, and etc.? There's lots of dedicated crypto feeds out there. I'm sure if you looked up crypto news feeds, RSS, you'll see them all. I mean, they're publicly exposed, meaning you can, build a process that will, through prompting, and then build an entire automated agents coming to mind around that. So yeah, you can definitely use the crypto news related sites. Like I don't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, if you just Google the top quality news feeds that are reliable, because a lot of the unfortunate problem with a lot of these news feeds, they're all fakery, where they put up some bleep coin, and then it's like the penny stocks where they get rug pulls. So there are a lot of news sites like that, but you got to be able to determine what are the reliable news feeds, and how you know that is the ranking on Google. As simple as that. Yes, I use iNoReader to follow thousands of news feeds. Great, another example of a similar service. Yeah, that's good enough. Because you can categorize all your assets into different ones, and then use something like that. And then in there, you'll have your mainstream media, and then you'll have your independent news ones, like, as I said, Reddit or any of the forums out there. And the AI will remove a lot of the chatter stuff, a lot of signal to noise as well. Have to keep AI for rabbit trails. Yeah, the problem is if you're on one, let's say, VS Code project and you're using AI all the time, as I said earlier, your AI can wipe out your older working code, which happened to me last night. So that can happen as well. So once you get to a certain milestone, what I would do is I'd back up that project, so that if the AI decides to wipe it out, you have an instance that works. So that's the easiest way to get around that, I guess. Anybody else got any questions or comments? Yeah, man, 2:19, 2 hours, 19 minutes. Quite the lengthy one for tonight. I appreciate everybody that's been on and been watching, coming and going. I know how the internet works with a well, they are doom scrollers, or the people, as I keep saying, that are looking for their next shiny toy. Good luck to them. Have you guys got any other comments or questions? I don't mind. Originally, I was going to stay on for an hour, but here we are. Good old generous me, I hate to say. And yes, I do need a haircut. I know that. Because I'm going to, probably somebody's thinking, I should comment on that. Okay. Oh, more cryptorific. He's got questions coming in. I've told my agents to convert every project of mine into private GitHub repos to actually save them for a few times. Yeah, that's a smart way. I don't really use GitHub a lot. I'm scared of GitHub because I don't know what's publicly getting exposed or not. I know there's the Git ignore and all that. I try to stay out of the GitHub. I don't really use version control, surprisingly. The other thing is, I do believe, depending upon your AI coding tool or agent tool, you can probably revert back to the state of a certain prompt. I believe. I don't know. And just as I said, to repeat, so people know, I moved off of Kilo AI to Cline, CLINE. I do know that's probably the top three most popular out there. Because I was using Kilo, I like it. But as I said, I moved over to that Cline because it has a good, generous support for MCP servers. I'm trying to figure out how to use MCP servers. There's nothing specific for this kind of algo trading development. I did see one for financial. How advanced that is, I don't know. But it probably doesn't matter because I'm using Rhythmic data and I'm actually paying for it. Just so you know, I got an Irish beer here, the Guinness, on St. Paddy's Day. I'm just wondering if I should drink it or not. I don't even know if I'm allowed to drink online on YouTube. Hang on here, I'm gonna take. You can only see my eyes. There you go. Ha. Ah, that's good stuff. Anybody else got any questions or comments or not? It's just to prove to you, this is not an ad for Guinness, but there it is, Guinness. We got 3 left for tonight. It's gonna be a long night, I bet. Do you use a platform to manage your trades, or every script is independent? All data is in your terminal. Yes. No trading platform. It's. I've worked with a lot of trading platforms. I said also they're just too limiting. If I want a feature, I've been actually, I won't name the name, but you may know. I've asked time and time again for certain features. Never got done over years, and that's why I kind of moved off. Then went to TradingView, and I think TradingView is the best platform out there for anything because there's so many scripts on it, but it's proprietary. And again, the AI is fantastic for PineScript as well, but you're still limited. The scary part I don't like about TradingView is the rules. You break a rule, what can they can do? They can come back and let's say you use some kind of proprietary CME data feed. People may not know this, but I do think it's part of their terms of service. And I did see it, and I was very aware of it. If you use their news feed for something that they deem is against the CME terms of service, they can actually come back against you to invoice you on all the breaches with TradingView. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's how I understood it, and that kind of scared me off of TradingView. So I prefer just to stick with what you suggested here. Every script is independent and all data is in a terminal. Yeah, I'm right. I'm not using the Windows terminal anymore. I'm more the PowerShell guy, but I prefer Linux. But PowerShell's been okay with AI for that as well. But on the other hand, you also have to realize with Rhythmic, they have their own very, very, very tight terms of service as well, as I mentioned before in the past, and they're very strict on that, and I can see why. I mean, if people knew in the public domain and the hacking, oh my god, it'd be just a mess for them, and it's a security breach for them. I understand why they have their very tight terms of service. Have you got any other questions, Cryptorific or anybody else, Arun, Aaron, or Mr. Night Knight or JDI? If you guys got questions or not, I'll be sitting here waiting. I'm gonna be honest. I want to get back to my debugging. Um, if I don't think I'll be making a new video until this is finally done. I don't want to put something up, do a video, and then recant it because it's been rewritten by the AI. The core stuff that I've got from an architecture standpoint on all the reports I put out since Monday still stand. But I'm gonna, once I'm very confident with everything that I've got is in place and it's stable and it's running and it's predictable, then I'll put out a new report on it. Because if I just put out all these different iterations, it's just people get, they don't trust you over time if you keep changing it. It's not me it changes, it's the environment, the as the word is that I could use now, the struggle that you go through to get this stuff done. Anybody else got any comments or questions at all? Okay, it's coming up to 2:26, so maybe should I wrap it up at 2 hours and 30 minutes? If you guys got questions or comments, let me know to keep it going. I don't want to go on once or twice yet, because maybe Mr. Cryptorific has been asking the questions lately. The blog posts you make daily, can I trade on those? Are you referring to my membership stuff or my public? Either way, it doesn't bother me. I mean, if it's private, that's the whole point of the private, or the behind the paywall, we'll call it, because it's what it is. Yeah, if you're using the paywall, that's the whole point of it that you guys can use. The blog post, I don't know if there's a lot you can do. See, the other cool thing I like about using this news, if somebody comes along and just somehow rips off a trading bot that I got, do understand that that's disposable after the next day, and it may not be valuable ever again. So if somebody gets something that might be 2 days old, it's irrelevant. That's what I like about this concept as well, because the code and it changes all the time, and a lot of it get like if I told you what I threw out or deleted this earlier today, because of the amount of iterations that I've been copying and saving and all the code, I didn't care because I knew it was irrelevant, and I just tossed it out. Some of them could have been very valuable, but at the way I'm going at 350 miles an hour, like a tornado, and I'm not stopping until I get it done. But there's some possibility some of that code might have been very valuable for all I know. But at this point, I don't really care, unfortunately, depending upon your approach. You guys got questions or comments? I don't know if I'm sure, I'll repeat this one strategy that was awesome. It was probably the most valuable strategy I've seen yet, is an arbitrage mean reverting strategy between USDC and Tether. Fantastic strategy, the most lucrative strategy known to man, and that one strategy was so valuable because there's no external dependencies at all, nothing. And it was just dependent upon the performance of the US dollar, which is probably the most traded asset in the world. So that was the only dependency. So that was probably the most lucrative trade that I've seen so far in the last month. And Boy, and when I had the potential trades stack up against each other for a couple of weeks, that one was by like a mile long. It was amazing, and I knew that was valuable. And I got the code for it still. Well, it's behind one of my other paywalls, the very very pricey paywall. You guys got any other questions or comments? As you can tell, I just gift of the gab, blah 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 blah, nonstop, 2.5 hours. When does this guy shut up? Just so you know about the shorts, they're all queued up till Sunday. So this one, all the streams and the shorts that come out of this stream, probably you won't see until Monday. I'm overwhelming my short queue. It's a week. It's a week long now. It's crazy for the amount of content I'm putting out. I didn't even put up the last stream just so everybody knows and made shorts out of those. It was just too much. And in fact, it got rejected by the thing that uses it. I don't know. I just moved on to the next video. Anyways, you guys got questions or comments? Type up anything you want. Yeah, type up anything you want so I know that you're there. Otherwise, I'll do the dreaded countdown. Going once, twice, all that. So we're at 2:30 now. 2.5 hours. Pretty good. Okay, should I do it? Cryptorific, where are you viewing in from? Just out of curiosity. Are you in the US or same time zone as across the US? Just curious. In the meantime, I'll do it going once. If you got something to say, type it up. St. Louis, very good. Well, that's 1 hour behind where I'm at. I'm Eastern Standard. I think you guys are Central. Anything else you got in the queue that you want to type up? Okay, we'll do it going once. Type up whatever you want, a question as fast as you can, just even a letter so I know you want to say something. Going once. Waiting, I know there's that delay. Going twice. Going 3 times. I guess we're done. 2.5 hours long. Good stream. Anyways, I'll leave it at that. Thanks for watching. Have a good day, and it might be a long night once again for me to get what I'm resolved. OpenClaw. What did you want to know about OpenClaw? I'll just say this: I don't trust it. I wouldn't use it. I hear it does dangerous things. Like if you say, "Hey, delete this email," and deletes the whole thing. Delete this file, deletes the whole folder, or deletes the whole drive. It's out of control. Anything else, Cryptorific? I don't know what you were asking for. NVIDIA made a safe one. Well, anything can be safe, but I know NVIDIA came out with a new AI. I've tried it. I couldn't get it working. And it doesn't bother me because Amazon had one, didn't work. ByteDance had one, didn't work. So all these companies are trying to, but the OpenAI, the Gemini, the Claude, they're so far ahead. And you all got anything else you want to ask? Okay. Do I repeat the dreaded countdown again? Going once? Going twice? Going 3 times? Okay. Let's leave it at that. Okay, I'll be back next Tuesday for sure. As I've said before, I might do these random streams throughout the week, short ones. And we'll leave it at that. Other than that, thanks for watching. Have a good night. Thanks for asking all the amazing questions from our participants and attendees. We shall talk to you later. Make sure you get on my email list at quantlabsnet.com. As I said before, all the prices are going to go up once we get past this. Why? Because it's very valuable stuff. Alrighty. Have a good day, night, wherever you are. Bye bye.